Hey, friends out there, this is Thursday, February 10th, 2022, and it is just about 5:37 here in the morning here in Northern California. My voice is still out, as you could tell. I'm calling it laryngitis. It's the first time in my life. I'm 63 years old, and it's the first time in my life I remember having anything like this persist for so long. But again, the good news is that I feel fine. I don't have a fever, and I've been checked for COVID, and I don't have that. So, on that note, hey, all this vaccination stuff, look, people believe in it, and I understand why they believe in it. They believe what they believe to be the science. But they are not allowing any dissenting opinions on the mainstream media. And that's not fair. And then they complain about Joe Rogan being nutty about being an anti-vaxxer and all this, and not giving equal time to the science, right? It's a two-way street. So if the mainstream media wants guys like Joe Rogan to be on the up and up, then they need to be on the up and up. The mainstream media has to admit there's experts, scientific, professional experts in this field that disagree, that dissent from the popular consensus, which is the only one they're allowing. You understand? That's troubling. That's what I call propaganda. It's not fair to the public. Okay, we're not mushrooms to be kept in the dark and fed you know what. Okay? We're human beings with God-given rights. And those are enshrined in America. Those are enshrined in the Constitution. So, for God's sake, I'm glad this thing reached the Supreme Court. I really am. Because, just because you're a majority doesn't mean you're right. Okay, wasn't it a majority in Nazi Germany that voted for Hitler? I'm just saying. Okay, please, for God's sake, we've got to be cool to one another, respect each other. Okay, you say you love somebody, but you mock them. You perhaps you don't even verbalize it, but we know what you're thinking. You're thinking they're uneducated, unscientific buffoons if they don't believe the vaccine science. Okay, so what? So what? What kid out there hasn't had a ton of vaccines? Their parents believed in it. Look, if somebody doesn't want to be treated like a pincushion, perhaps they've got a true medical condition where they have a real phobia, okay, about being poked with needles. I'm one of those people. It's developed over time. Okay, I don't need a religious exemption. I'm not a religious man. I'm a believer, but I don't conflate the two. Being a believer, okay, is just saying, hey, there's obviously a God, okay? It'd be like, could you imagine, the most fantastical work of art you've ever seen? Living, like biological sculptures. This is what God has done on Earth. We don't need to go out into space with telescopes and whatnot, spaceships, to understand right here on Earth, there's overwhelming evidence that there's an almighty creator God. Okay, it'd be like seeing an awesome work of art, and you're like, wow, that is so beautiful. I love that so much. Whatever, all these famous, invaluable works of art out there. Okay, there's a lot of them. Very valuable to collectors because of their beauty. Could you imagine not knowing who did it, not honoring them, saying this is just a fluke? It's happenstance. That all these things came together to make this beautiful painting or sculpture or anything else that we've ever created that's beautiful. And saying, no, there's no author, there's no creator. No, it just happened. You give things enough time, that's the whole theory, that there's no God. You give stuff enough time and it'll be there. To me, I came up with one analogy for that thinking, and it is to say it's like saying you could take a junkyard, right, and stick it in a giant tumbler, the entire junkyard, a humongous tumbler, salvage yard, wrecking yard, whatever you want to call it, junkyard. All those junk cars and parts and crap, spin it together long enough. Remember, we're talking billions and billions of years, right? Whatever the science suggests that the planet's been around. And eventually, you're going to wind up with a bright, shiny new Cadillac. Now, that's what not believing in God is to me. That's like telling me that I should believe that. That's ever going to happen. That's ridiculous. But that's the inference, the suggestion from people that deny the existence of an almighty creator God. And that's just, what do I say about that? I love you. You're either my brother or my sister. But, can you understand what an affront that is to believers? That I've got to contend with that thinking when you know how difficult it is for me to wrap my mind around the idea that you really believe that you could go on a polygraph and you would stand by that no, there's no God, clearly. I have to give you the benefit of the doubt and believe that a lot of people would pass that. And that's beyond, it's like, oh my God, I'm so removed from that line of thought. It makes absolutely no sense to me. But I live in a world, and what I believe is, as a believer, is that we're all meant to be together here. For whatever reason, we're here stuck on planet Earth all together to figure it out. As God said, I'm going to choose you to be in this family, here on Earth, these humans, these advanced, intellectually advanced beings made in my image and likeness with great power of thought and imagination, and then they can manifest anything they imagine invisibly into reality, something physical and tangible, like we've done, all the infrastructure, every stitch of technology. Even your car, do you realize how, 100 years ago, do you know what cars were like? Just 100 freaking years ago. A car is mind-blowing technology. An internal combustion engine is mind-blowing technology. It's all mind-blowing technology. And no one person could take credit for it, okay? It's an accumulation of many great minds coming together and working as a family. The way God said, this is good. And then we've got all kinds of toys out there for recreation, and that's all good. God, I think he's fine with anything we do as long as it's just good and nothing bad. I'm sure he doesn't like weaponry. God hates violence. Scripture makes that very clear. So we can know a lot about God. But there's always a profound wonderment. It never ceases for me. I see God more and more in every living thing. Why does God make baby creatures so cute? How do we know it's cute and value that? And every creature seems to see that in their offspring. Their babies are cute. I used to joke with my daughters when they were little. I said, you know why God made you guys so cute? I'd say, so that all parents didn't just throw you in dumpsters, too much trouble. Joke with them, of course. Last thing I would ever do, but here's my daughters when they were young and I was in my 20s here. Look at that. Jennifer and Kristen, look at those little girls. Is that a proud papa or what? But I'll tell you what, Every animal, every creature is cute. Their babies are cute, at least. When they get older, I mean, they can get scary. A lot of creatures are very formidable. Not just the male of the species, but the female too. They can be some of the most ferocious of all, like the allegory, the mother bear, protecting her cubs. You don't want to mess with her. So, the male-female thing is important too in this whole pattern, this paradigm, the dynamics of understanding the nature and character of God. It's a trip, man. I mean, I think of the dinosaurs, everything living, this living biological artwork, sculpture. We've got to honor God. We've got to glorify God. We've got to talk about God. We've got to be grateful to God. I mean, everything that you've ever enjoyed, what you're going to enjoy today, it's a gift from God. It's granted from above. We're all God's beloved children, born into one family here on earth. And we've got to learn to get along with each other. The most vile of men, I mean, God knows. Look, I watch these crime shows, and I just watched one, and it was a Dateline, I think, and at the end the guy said, yeah, I think this couple, it was a young couple that they killed some woman that worked at a job, some video store or something in a mall, something like that. I can't remember the specifics. Maybe it was a sporting store. I can't remember. It didn't matter. But anyhow, this couple, young couple, in their 20s, and they ended up getting the manager, I think, and they wanted to steal some money. It was about money, and they killed her, and they got caught, and I got on this, but I'm just thinking how evil and vile that is. But the guy at the end, one of the dads of the victim, I think it was, that he was saying, yeah, these people were convicted. They're going to do life in prison without any chance of parole. But he wasn't satisfied. He thinks they should have got the death penalty for killing their daughter. And I get that. And, there's a part of me that, quite honestly, vengeance, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, and all that. And I say, I totally get it. I'm sure God gets it. Kill him, put him to death. I empathize with that. I just say to myself, wait a minute. These people are out of their minds. It harkens back to what Christ said on the cross when he was asking his Father, the Creator God Almighty, the only father he had no biological father, the way the story goes, and I believe it. He said, forgive them, Father. They know not what they do. These are the people that were hanging him on the cross and putting nails through his hands and feet, piercing his side to make sure he's dead. And so whatever somebody has done to injure you or a loved one, it's very important to remember that message that Christ sent there. How we view death is